This is Vietnam's Renovation Generation.
Sonic portraits of young minds reshaping the country's future.
For episode 17, we traveled to central Vietnam to meet Trần Văn Nhật. His start in life was very different to most of the Renovation Generationers. We met him in Hui's town center.
When I was young, my mother took me to the cities once, but I don't remember that much.
Born in 1991, Nhật grew up in a village of only 300 people outside of Hui.
Well, it's a small village and small houses, small streets. The river divides the village into two. It's a peaceful place, and since I moved back to Huế to work, I go back to my hometown. I spend my weekend there, go fishing.
He would have lived there until university age, but when he was 9, the course of his life changed dramatically. We had another conversation with him on Skype.
My father passed away when I was grade 3. Then 3 years later, my mother passed away.
So himself and his youngest brother were taken to live in the shelter, a home for orphaned children to live and study in Hui.
It was a really hard time for me and for everyone else in the family as well. My brother and my sister had to skip school. So we can afford me and my younger brother to continue on studying.
This is why Nhật and his youngest brother spent the rest of their childhood along with 41 other kids from grade 1 to university age.
It's like a life that I've never ever imagined that I can have. You know, back home I don't have anything. I don't know anything. And come to the shelter, I have my own bed. I have people taking care of me. I have friends. I have books and pens. I have everything. I have nice clothes, and I go to school that 10 times bigger than the school I go to from my village. It's like my hometown was Hue, and then Hue was like New York.
But it wasn't all happiness in the shelter. Being older, he can reflect back now on parts of growing up there, which were really difficult.
I remember there's a time they built a fence. They built a fence between the kids' house and the staff's house. You know, makes the kids think that they came here to live, but not the home.
Volunteers coming from around the world for the Vietnam experience.
You know, you can learn from them a lot, but it's also a disadvantage for the kids because, yeah, it's like, you know, people come and you get close and then they leave. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. Some of the kids, they spend time with them and they don't care about school. They don't study, they don't do anything.
The typical teenage exam pressures came in school.
My dream was to become an English teacher at the time, but then I failed my test, and I was so down. I was like, I really disappointed.
So how did he react to losing his dream future?
I left the shelter and I got a job, so, you know, as a waiter and working in hospitality for a couple of years, and I think, lucky I didn't pass the university test.
He got to live outside Hue, in Nha Trang, in Da Nang, meeting and talking to people from all over the world, and of course, becoming fluent in English. Eventually, he came back to Hue because he was missing out on seeing his family. When Hue Airport opened, he became a restaurant manager there, and later, he got the opportunity to work where he is at the moment, as an office manager at the NGO, which helps the kids at the shelter. Yet was part of changes made to the shelter. For example, there is now no more fence, and they only allow long-term volunteers. Aside from that, he sees his role is even more meaningful.
I just want to be a role model for the kids that now living in the shelter to look up. I also want to show others, you know, show the shelter staff that, you know, university and school is not the only way to get you to success. Not all of them are doing good at school, you know. So it doesn't mean that you're not good if you're not doing good at school. You know, they all suffer some things. Just raise them, but not listen to them. It's not help.
So his career has led him full circle to work with kids like himself who have experienced tragedy too young. Nowadays, he also spends more time in his home village, going back there every weekend to be with his grandmother.
I love my village because whenever I come back, I feel peaceful. You know, there's not much car, there's not noise. They've been building, they've been construction, they've been changing. So we had a lot of building now back home. So you know, there's big company come there. So there are some of the village nearby. They're close to the beach, and so some of the companies they go there. They build factory. They raise shrimp, and it's changing.
As most of our renovation generationers live in the city, we were curious to know if there was a divide between countryside and city life.
You know, the city kids, they get to know everything when they're young. Mm-hmm. So they didn't feel like strange to the world when they get older. But then the village kid, they live in the village, and you know, they're not having so much, you know,
exposure maybe?
Yeah, to know things. And so when just only when they pass the high school test, so if family that have, you know, good financials, and so they send the kids to the city to study. But those who not, these kids still have to stay back in hometown to study until they pass the university, and then they have to move to the city. But when they move here, and then you know everything is new, and so it's hard for them to take everything in for at the same time.
Was that the same for you?
Yeah, it's the same for me as well. For like,
This has been the Renovation Generation. Follow us on SoundCloud or subscribe to the Renovation Generation on iTunes, Stitcher, or Mixcloud to never miss an episode. It is produced by Eliza Lomas and Fabiola Buchele. Our production assistants are Chang Yim and Chang Ngo. And script translation is done by me, Maya Do, and I also narrated this episode. Jack Smith is our photographer. In episode 18, we will speak to policy researcher and columnist Khak Zang Nguyen about the need to give civil society a voice, living in a post-ideological world and growing up in Uncle Ho's hometown.
Be sure to listen.